When you think of public art, things like murals and architecture and sculptures are probably what comes to mind. Well, my next guest has taken his artistic expression, well, to the streets with his own unique style. And he's created this impressive 53 works to date. And joining me on the show today is Lenny Mon from San Francisco, California. And he's going to share with us how he's mastered the art of running. Okay, normally running and art doesn't quite go together, right, Lenny?
No, it's something new. Usually you have a paintbrush or a pen and you put it on paper, but instead I put my sweat on the city streets. So San Francisco is my canvas and my sweat is my paintbrush.
And so explain to us how you use Strava, the GPS app, to figure out how to draw Batman on the streets of San Francisco.
Well, I have to plan it in advance. Strava just records what I do, and it's quite meticulous. I have to be very, very careful and look at a paper map. That's how I work. I sketch it out on a paper map and refine it, and it goes through many iterations until I get it just right. Then I take that paper map, and as I start my run, I press start on the Strava app. I go do it. I make sure not to make any wrong turns, or I have to start over.
Oh, do we not turn here?
And when I'm done, I press finish, and my design renders as I designed it, and I'm done. It always looks a little bit different than what I designed because of the GPS markings aren't precise, and that's great. It adds a little chaos to the shape. So I love that little randomness that it interjects into the shape that I intended to draw.
So now, Lenny, how many miles do you run to create a typical work of art?
Oh, I don't know. I would say about 20 miles on average. I think the shortest one I ever did was 0.9 miles. That was just a slice of pizza. The longest one I think was 44 miles, and that was an outline of a runner. But you know, it's not about the miles. It's not about the miles or the speed or even the elevation. Remember, this is San Francisco. You can't avoid the hills, but it's about the shape.
And so, what do you think was the hardest run for you to do?
That probably is a recent one that I completed last month, Frida Kahlo, a portrait of Frida Kahlo. That was hard, not in terms of the miles. It was just about 30 miles, but it was hard because of getting it just right. I kept messing up on her eyes, and so I'd have to start all over. And I finally got it right to my satisfaction last month.
How did you come up with this idea?
I'd like to make my runs interesting and different as much as possible. I've been running since I was 17 years old in high school. And when I run, I love running. I like to mix it up and do different things. I run races. I run group runs with friends. I run by myself. If my friends have a dog that needs to get out of the house, I'll offer to take their dog with me. And I like to do this running art, as I call it, as a alternative to my runs. With running art, I'm very, very focused on the route that I need to travel. I can't make a wrong turn.
So it's like, like run, Lenny, run, right?
Run, Forrest, run, yeah. Run, Lenny, run. I get a lot of, cat calls now and then, and people will say, run, Forrest, run. I'm like, okay.
So how do you come up with what you want to draw on the streets?
I use my imagination. It's much like when we were kids and we would lay back and look at the clouds and see shapes in the clouds. I just use my imagination. Sometimes I'll look at the city map of San Francisco. There's many different maps and they're laid out differently. And they all kind of inspire imagining what shape I see in the grids of the city streets. Or I will come up with a design in advance, Frida Kahlo, for example, and I'll try to make it fit within the streets. And I have to be creative, and I have to just use my imagination to make sure it fits. And almost always I can make something fit in the city streets. I think I can keep doing this every month, probably for the rest of my life, and not run out of ideas.
I bet you can. Now, have you ever run into a situation, no pun intended, by the way, where you were just like almost done with a piece of art and like something happened and you couldn't finish it and you had to start all over again?
That has happened. And if that happens, I just say, oh, well, that was just a regular long run, and I just do it again.
So I noticed that you had quite a lot of Star Trek designs. Is there a particular reason for that?
That's just a coincidence. I'm a Star Trek fan, and Star Trek has Starfleet headquarters is based here in San Francisco. But that's just a coincidence. When I first wanted to do this, I wanted to do a shape that's kind of original. I didn't want to do what other people were starting to do by using shapes that were clever and funny, but not too original. And I wanted to do a hand shape, and I didn't want to do the expected peace sign or any other hand gesture. And Leonard Nimoy had recently died. There's a lot of talk about him, and he, of course, is known for his Vulcan salute. And I thought, that might be a nice thing to do as a proof of concept. So I sketched out Vulcan salute, and I ran it, and I pressed finish, and there it was. It was exactly what I designed. Wow. And I was real happy with that. So I thought I would continue that.
Well, that's pretty awesome, Lenny. Thanks for telling everybody your story and how you are running around San Francisco. So if we see this crazy guy on the streets, we know that he's not really crazy. He's actually creating something.
Run, Lenny, run.
You got it, Lenny. And you see, ladies and gentlemen, this is just an example of how technology can bring a little fun and creativity into our lives. So if you or someone you know has a story that you'd like to share with us, just hit my website, komando.com. And at the bottom of every page, you see a link that says, Contact Us. Next, I have a very special guest to play America's favorite game show. That's right. It's time for another round of Brand New or Not True. But who is he? Let's just say it could be a family feud happening right here on Komando.